Hi, my name's Inman. I'm the head coach at SBG Manchester. I'm a BJJ Black Belt and a professional MMA fighter. Filming today for the Warrior Collective. I'm going to talk about today is sometimes when I train Jiu Jitsu, I find it easier. Like when I train striking, clinch, or ground, I find it easier to find principles that link and affect different positions together than running through a number of different techniques in my head. So what I'm going to do today is look at the principle of using frames to transmit force and how that can be applied in different scenarios throughout fighting. So the first position, and probably the most simple visual demonstration I can give of this, is going to be when I'm inside the closed guard. Now, before Chris puts me in his guard, I'm just going to demonstrate the posture I want to be achieving when I'm inside the closed guard. So I don't want, when I'm in the closed guard, to be making my chest big and my lower back sucked in like this, kind of rotating my pelvis outwards. I actually want to be doing the opposite. I want to be folding my pelvis underneath me, so the curve in my back is more similar to a J than it is an S shape. Okay, so that's an S and that's a J. The reason for that's quite simple, because if this is Chris Coltrane, by the way, fellow SBG Black Belt and coach here at SBG Manchester, puts me in his closed guard, the first pressure he's going to use to break my posture down to where he can start attacking me is to pull with his legs, okay? So he's going to pull with his legs forward like this, so he can start wrapping up, controlling distance. In a fight, this is not much good for me because it's difficult to land any strikes without putting myself in a compromised position. And in Jiu Jitsu, particularly in McGee, there's going to be a lot of attacks you can make from there, okay? So rather than making my, again, S curve in my spine, I'm going to make a J curve. Now Chris, if I'm setting my position properly, can pull as hard as he wants with his legs. Pull harder, pull harder. And he's not going to be able to break my posture forward. The same applies, you'll notice for now, I'm not using my hands, I've not put my hands anywhere near Chris. When you're practicing this, you can put your hands on top of the head, pull. Harder, harder, harder. And it gets to the extent where Chris is a fairly large guy and he can almost do a sit-up on me if I'm holding my position right, okay? So that's setting the posture and the spine. Now this is where the frames are going to come in. So I will engage my hands at some point, but we don't really have time to talk about that today. But this hand here is going to make a frame. And you'll see, like, when you start out, a lot of white belts will try this kind of thing where they'll drive their elbows into the partner's leg to try and open. That's reliant on me creating pain, and if Chris is kind of tough, he won't open necessarily to that. So what I want to use instead is body mechanics. So my arm's going to go further back, so my hand, palm turned in, is covering this part of his leg, and my elbow is further back. Now, when I make the combination of that J curve in my spine pushing back, which is already starting to put some pressure on the joint of his feet, and I begin to push down, I can actually use that to open the guard, okay? From here, I can move through and start passing, but opening the legs before we can do any of that, it's not going to be possible. Now, the reason I'm saying I'm making a frame here is this, right? And you'll see, like, again, a lot of people when they first try this will be pushing with the arm, so keep your legs nice and strong, and it'll be this, okay? So you'll see I'm pushing away with the arm, and I'm kind of engaging the muscles around here to try and open the legs, which is not going to be that effective against a strong grip. So again, I'm setting the curve in my spine, and this time I'm just making a frame, and you'll actually, there's no tension in my arm at this point, okay? It's just completely relaxed, and all I'm going to do then is transmit my body weight into that frame, okay? So you see, essentially I'm just crunching to the side. Again, this is still completely relaxed. I'm going to change the angle so you can see that from here. You can kind of see the movement I make with my body. So again, head's neutral, back's set in good position, J curve, not an S. This hand, we won't worry about too much for now. Needless to say, there's a lot this could be doing. Really, I just don't want it to be grabbing it and pulling me forward with it. This hand is back here. You'll notice now, as soon as I engage this frame, again, I'm not pushing with my arm, my body goes to the side. And I can actually transmit a lot of force because my hips are then pushing through the frame I've created with my own skeleton. And that's going to open the guard. Now this won't work every single time. If Chris is very determined to keep his guard closed, I might end up having to go to a more traditional guard break where I'm going to step my leg back and this kind of thing. And if Chris is particularly dangerous from the closed guard, I might even choose to stand up to try and break the guard. But if I'm applying pressure already with my posture and he's unable to break me down, and then I engage my frame, you'd be surprised how often this will work once you're doing it properly. Using frame to transmit power. So the second position we're going to look at this is going to be more of a MMA context. So we're going to come up to the feet and I'm going to ask Chris to hold me against the wall. Okay, so Chris is going to drive in as though he's just shot a takedown, a little bit higher, and he's pushing me up against the wall. Okay, so this is quite a common situation in MMA fights. Also could happen in self-defense situation or whatever. I always try and encourage people who work against the wall because I feel working against the wall is very similar in a lot of ways to working on the ground in Jiu Jitsu. Now, again, it's important to consider my posture first because that's what most things start with, my posture and my base. So, as Chris is driving me into the wall, there's two things I want to avoid. One is bringing my feet away from the wall like this, where it's very easy to pull my legs out from under me. Go. To take me down like this. The other thing I want to avoid is having my body leaning forward. So again, if Chris is pushing me against the wall and he manages to drop his level, if I'm leaning into him now, it becomes easy to lift me up, whereas my leg to complete his takedown. So my posture is actually going to be feet back against the wall, back flat against the wall. Now as Chris drives into me, he's creating pressure, pushing in. I'm going to bring my whizzer through in position, keep nice and strong. Now, this is where the frame comes in again, so creating a frame with my body. I want to control his head in some way, okay? Now, the problem I'm going to have is, if Chris knows what he's doing, he's going to be keeping his head very tight to me, so it's very difficult for me to get my arm on the inside, so I'm going to have to create some space first. So this overhook that we just put in becomes effective now, because I'm going to push my hips in this direction to open up a pocket of space here. From there, my arm is going to come into position before he gets a chance to drive back at me. As he drives back in now, rather than letting my elbow collapse, I'm going to keep the frame exactly the same as we did when we were in the closed guard. The only difference is this time, rather than putting it against his leg or that joint in his knee, I'm actually putting it against his jawline. Now he can drive in all he wants, but he's driving against the frame. From this position, I can actually turn and reverse. From here, I can look to clear, strike, working at my own takedown situations. So, again, I'm in position against the wall. I'm going to drive with my shoulder. I bring the arm in. Immediately, rather than trying to push away, again, using the musculature in my arm, I'm just creating a frame with my skeleton, okay? And then all I'm going to do from that position is use that frame to drive through and change position. So if Chris comes back in, I'll show you that one more time. Here in, he's driving, my posture's set, so my leg's out forward, my upper body's not forward. I'm going to dig in with my overhook, and I'm going to drive to create some space. Okay, now this is going to happen faster in real life, so I'll drive and I'll get that arm in straight away. Now one final thing I want to make sure when I'm doing this is that my forearm is against Chris's jawline, okay? Again, I'm framing against his head here. I'm not framing against his neck. See the frame against his neck? That allows him to turn his head in, and that's going to allow him to collapse the frame. If I make the frame on his jawline, it becomes impossible for him to drive towards me. And then I'll be able to steer, turn, break clear, strike. Okay, so the final position we're going to look at creating the frame from is when I'm on bottom. And both frames we've made so far essentially used the same part of my skeleton. This time I'm going to look at using a different part of my body to create the same frame and apply the same principle. So we're actually going to start from the half guard. Now half guard, for me, is generally a defensive position, okay? I'm going to end up in this position either because I've just escaped from a bad position, I've managed to trap one of Chris's legs in between mine, or Chris is partway through passing my open guard and I've again trapped one of his legs, okay? So when we start to drill here, Chris is actually going to be locking me down, okay? So my objective from this position should always be to get Chris backing up my full guard or my open guard, so I have two legs to work against him and look to get back to my feet rather than just the one leg like I have at the minute, okay? Now a problem arises, especially in a fighting situation, if Chris manages to create space in this pocket here. So if he starts to push away from me and I end up playing here and he can strike, it's going to be a bad day for me, okay? So I'm going to make sure, as I feel him moving away from me, I create distance maximization. Here and here, okay? Now Chris can try and touch my head from this position. He's actually going to be out of range. If he really drives forward to touch my head, he's going to free my leg and I'm going to be able to create even more space. But that's not what we're going to look at today. We're going to use this frame, okay? So as Chris postures away from me, I bring my knee into the body and straight away I'm creating a frame now. Now Chris kind of feels this pressure I'm giving him, so he opts to just sit down heavy on my leg. He doesn't want me to get my other leg back out, and he's going to take his time and think about what he's doing from here. Again, this is a frame, okay? So basically from my shoulder all the way down to my knee, I've locked out my skeleton. Again, my muscles are relaxed, so I'm not using any force from my muscles, any kind of leverage there. But if he drives back towards me, that frame will collapse. If there's a bend in my hip and he drives in towards me, you'll actually find the frame will collapse quite easily. And this is when I get in trouble again because he can start passing my guard. So the extension from the frame. Now all I'm going to do, and a safety note here, when you practice this, make sure your partner tucks their feet in because we're going to go backwards. I don't want them to hurt their knees. Is I'm going to lift my knees slightly. I'm going to come up to my elbow. Now without bending my hip, I'm going to come to my hands and drive straight through, okay? So I'm transmitting force through the frame I've created. So let's see that again. From the start, Chris is locking me down. She's just passed through my guard or I've just escaped. He wants to posture away from me to begin to strike. As soon as I feel this space open up in the pocket, my knee comes in and I bring my body out to maximum extension, touch my head. So I'm safe for now, unless he lifts up off his feet, in which case I'll go back to my open guard. So for now, he stays sat down. So all I'm going to do, keep the knee here, keep this frame bent. I come up to my elbow initially, and you'll see I'll start to push Chris back. Walk on my hands all the way till I take top position. One common mistake I see with people using this pressure is this, okay? So as the knee comes into position, as they go to make a drive, they'll actually break the frame, and then this becomes a lever instead. So now as Chris pressures back into me, I'm relying on the strength in my muscles here rather than just transmitting the force through the frame. So what I need to make sure is as I come up, this is straight. Now he can push back into me as hard as he likes, and it's actually just going to help me to make my reversal. So that's just 3 different ways of looking at the same principle, which is how I'm creating frames with my bones and my skeleton and using that to transfer the powerful energy I can create with the strong part of my body, my hips. Thanks for watching.